Hello and welcome to our first video on how to use the site and make some edits. Okay, so this is the site here. This is our home page. Basically, we have our menu bar up the top here. We have all our topics listed on the right hand side down here, and then we have our login form. Now the login form, put your username and password in here. You can hit remember me if you'd like it to remember. And then just hit login. Now what you'll see is as it logs in, we now have our notepad displayed down here, which lets you add notes to various pages for every user. The login form now says log out, and you have this user profile menu down here. Now your settings will vary depending on what level user you are. So first thing we want to do is go through and look at making a quick edit. So I have some notes here that we need to get Martha's tips to be less flat and a bit more poppy in people around you. So what I'll do is I'll go to the people around you section on the right hand side here. Go into that. Now I know it's in the negative Nellies, how to deal with. So I'm going to click on that. Now here's our article. It's a bit big and boring in terms of what's in there. So we're going to try and do something interesting with it. We'll make some basic edits. Now the request I've had from Helen was to put this in some sort of box to liven it up. So what we're going to do is we'll come up here to this little icon and I'm going to right click. You have the option to print the article, to email the article, or to edit it if you are an admin, which you guys are. Once we're there, you've come up with this window. You'll note that this window has a number of features. We've got our usual bold, italics, underline, strike through, then our text alignment, various formats including types of headings we can insert, fonts and sizes, bullet points, all that sort of thing. Some of the important things that we'll go into in a little bit will be things like links, which is how you can set links to other articles and pages or other websites, inserting pictures, and changing the colour of text and things like that. So first up, we're going to come down here. I've just popped this into a box as well to make it look nice. And you see if I click in this, this is what we call a table. And it comes up with this table menu. The table menu, basically it's a box that things can go into. So if you want to have a picture with some text aligned underneath, you'll want a table that has two cells, two vertical cells. And that way you can line things up neatly. So for Martha's tips, what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new table up here, and we want a heading, which will be the first row. Then we want one for each of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So essentially that's 9 boxes in the table. So what I'll do, there's two ways of doing this. I can either right click and click on table and then come down here to set 9 boxes, or I can come back up here to the menu where it says table and do exactly the same thing. Now if I go 9 boxes like that, you can see it's very small at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this first bit of text in, do a cut and paste. Now I'm going to click next to it, and then you can see I can actually go inside the boxes. When I paste, Control V, there's Martha's tips. Now it's lost its formatting, that's okay. We'll just pop that formatting back to a heading format. And then I'm going to copy each of these sentences in. Now the reason we're doing this is that a table is a really nice way to make things look smart. They tend to not be used that much in web these days because people like to use different methods, but for this project they're very useful. Right, almost finished here. What this is going to do, you can see that the format is changing as I move things up, and that's because tables have their own set of formatting, so we can do what we want. So the first thing I'll do is I'll select all the text, oops, and I'm going to tell it that we actually want it in our standard paragraph. And that makes it all the same as everything else we've done before. Now Martha's tips is a bit lost down here, so we might bump him up to a maybe a heading number 1. And I might want Martha's tips made central. Okay, so that's the first bit. Now, not a huge improvement. So what we're going to do is come down here, click on the table, click in the table, and then you'll see there's a table properties box on the end. We've got some other boxes like add rows before, add rows after, remove rows, add columns, but we want to go to properties. And when we click properties, we can set widths and heights of things, which we don't want to worry about because we want it to automatically adjust at the moment. But the important one is cell padding. If we hit 10 pixels cell padding, what will happen here is all of a sudden all of this text is now nicely spaced out. Now, I'm just looking at this one. We can see that it's still in the wrong font, so I'm just going to change that over. We want to be in a nice Tahoma. There we go. Okay. And we want to be in a 9-point as well. Now we can adapt this to whatever we want. Just a 10-point, that's a bit bigger. So now we've got that. Now we want the table to do something else. Maybe let's pop it off the page a bit and let's give it a colour. So we can give it a caption if we wanted to, but not today. But the most useful thing is either throw a border around it or give it a background colour. Now the background colour, less is more. So if we pick something like a blue, a very pale blue, and you'll see here we've got a little swatch, and that swatch shows us what it's going to look like when we apply it. So now that I've applied it, you can see it's a little bit darker in here. I actually want the cell padding to be a bit less, so let's go to 5. And then I'm pretty happy with that. So from here, what I do is I go down to this bottom bit and I just click save. Now that will exit me out of the editor, and it will give them this message up top saying article saved. Now as I scroll down, I can see there's the original text, there's that quote that I previously looked at, and then here's my tips that are all basically set out. So it's a bit better. I might remove some of this space in a second, but that's basically how you make a quick edit, and in this case put in a table.